one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, good evening and welcome to the City Council meeting. With that, Mr. Eddy, if you can bring us up to speed.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So for the members of the public, if you wish to speak during public comments when the mayor opens that up, if you could raise your hand virtually just by hovering over your name or look at the bottom of the participant panel. You should have an option to raise your hand, and the mayor will call on you or myself, and you will have 3 minutes to speak. If you wish to speak on something that's on the agenda, it looks like nobody's calling in, so everybody's on a smart device, so that should be pretty easy for them to do. So,
good. Thank you, Mr. Eddy. And welcome to the City Council meeting, May 17th, 2021. With that, if we could have roll call, please.
Chase.
Present.
Traxler.
Yes.
Sutherland. McCullough.
Yes.
Schwebs.
Here.
Merrill.
Here.
Solberg. Schlu.
Here.
Erdman.
Here.
Sommerfeld.
Here.
Okay, thank you. No special recognitions this evening, so we could go on to approval of minutes. If somebody'd like to make the motion to approve the minutes. Okay, Nate, go ahead, please.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion approving last week's minutes.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second to Nate's motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you, Chad. Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, said motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you. Okay, no public hearings this evening. Under public comments, this is the opportunity for anybody to speak on agenda items for the evening. We allow 3 minutes or less for each individual for public comments with a 15-minute cap. So at this time, we'll open up public comments. If you'd like to speak, please give us your name and your address. Mr. Eddy?
yep, and it looks like Melissa has raised her hand. So Melissa, we've opened up your mic. If you could give your name and address, please.
Yep. My name is Melissa Neeland, and I'm at 612 13th Street Southeast, Menomonie.
Go ahead, Melissa. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I just wanted to really quick come up and say, as a long-standing member of the Historic Preservation Commission, I wanted to express my recommendation of Lucas Chase for one of the open spots for the Historic Preservation Commission. He not only has a long history of preserving Menomonie history, as well as sharing it with the public through historic tours and also personally saving significant historic artifacts of our community. He is also serving as the managing director currently for the Mabel Tainter, arguably one of the most significant historic buildings, not only on our main street, but in the entire Chippewa Valley, and I would personally argue in the state. I just really think it's a fantastic opportunity to bring someone with a proven passion for history like Lucas has onto the Historic Preservation Commission. So I just really wanted to share that with everyone, and thank you for your time.
Okay, great. Thank you, Melissa. Anybody else? Mr. Eddy?
Jeff Frawley, we are opening up your microphone, so if you give your name and address, and you can speak.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
My name's Jeff Raleigh. My address is 313 Main Street East. And I wanted to speak tonight on behalf of downtown Menomonie, and basically just want to talk about the potential of rerouting the truck traffic off of Main Street. So I know that this is something that had been brought up in a previous council meeting, and it was somewhat based on downtown Menomonie's recommendation to start looking into this. And unfortunately, that decision was tabled. I was a little bit confused as to why it was tabled, since our recommendation was to look into the process, whether or not it was a possibility, and if it is a possibility, what all does it take? My understanding then is that it was tabled due to some concerns that business owners would not be happy with the reduced traffic. And that's another thing that I was a little bit disappointed about, since downtown Menomonie, I feel that we've done a really good job of representing the business owners, and our board is made up 50% of business owners. However, since then, I've gone door to door. You guys have a petition that was submitted by Dustin Dubuque last week, Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get to every single business owner. However, those that I did talk to, I was met with 100% support in looking into what it takes to get the trucks off of there. And the idea that losing traffic is a bad thing is the opposite of what the business owners are looking for. We don't look at the trucks as positive traffic. There's no truck drivers stopping in to get their hair cut. They're not going clothing shopping. They're not buying antiques. They're not going to restaurants. If they were, there's not even enough parking down there for the trucks. Then you bring in the noise and the smell of the cattle trucks and the sewage trucks. And then you have the fact that these buildings are hundreds of years old. I had several property owners complain to me while I went door to door that their bricks rattle when the trucks drive by. Their windows rattle, and they're concerned with the structural, soundness, I guess would be the right word, of their buildings. So long story short, I just wanted to talk a little bit about as a business owner representing the other business owners, we would really like to look into what it would take to move the truck traffic. And I know the truck traffic is already over on the truck route, but it's redesignating Highway 29 off of Main Street over to 6th Street. And we have 100% support of the businesses. So I just like to see what that would take. Thanks for your time.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Good information. Appreciate your extra efforts on this. Okay, Mr. Eide.
It looks like Dustin Dubuque, you're up next. If you could give your name and unmute and give your name and address, Dustin.
Dustin Dubuque, E5411, 745th Avenue, Menomonie, Wisconsin. Yes, I'm speaking just a little bit extra on Jeff. Jeff did a great job of actually summarizing a lot of what I was going to say. Again, everybody has kind of received the general notes of Jeff's findings with downtown business owners. I always say there's three things that everybody downtown has complained to me about the last 3.5 years. That's parking, the lack of restaurants, and too many trucks on the truck route. I guess the one thing I want to say, because I don't want to repeat everything Jeff just said, is I did speak with the Wisconsin Economic Development Corp, the WEDC, who has the branch of the Wisconsin Main Street program. I talked to their head, Erin Welty. She is also in agreement with downtown Menomonie having this issue. She cited the same exact issues that Jeff did: the infrastructure, integrity of the buildings, the loud, the smells, all the debris, and just the general conditions of the roads. But it also opens us up to do many things: outdoor dining, outdoor events, and all these other things on Main Street if the reroute did happen. She also let me know that currently Osceola and Green Bay are looking into doing the exact same thing. Green Bay pretty close at actually accomplishing a reroute of trucks off their downtown. Osceola is also looking to do the same thing because they have an outrageous amount of truck traffic from Minnesota too. So this is nothing that the WEDC and the Main Street program also can't help our organization and the city with, as long as we look into it and just see what we can do. Thank you all very much.
Very good, Dustin. Thank you for the information and the extra research. Good report. Mr. Eide?
Up next, we have Lottie Da. And if you could, your mic's been open. If you could unmute and give your name and address.
Hi, good evening. My name is Karen Hirchin, and I am at 311 Main Street East, downtown Menomonie. And first of all, I just want to say thank you, Dustin, and thank you, Jeff. I know they've been really working hard at this cause. My concern is not only what they're saying, but also as a safety issue. I have seen over and over the last 12 years, children break away from whoever they're with and run into that street. And it's just, that's my
this needs to be really looked at hard. And I think we can do that. I know that there's a fair amount of work that goes on to get this done as far as a staff here at City Hall. And I can bring Mr. Eide into the conversation, and he can take us from here. Mr. Eide?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just a reminder to the council. So this would be, if you decide to move this forward, this would be request to the DOT redesignate 6th Avenue as a Highway 29. The DOT would then evaluate that, look at the pros and cons, and look at what we'd have to do to upgrade 6th Avenue. We know there will be some costs. They will let us know that, and that decision that then would come back to the council if you want to move forward. So simply, this would be a request on behalf of the city, if the council endorses that, to move the highway designation to 6th Avenue versus where it is on Main Street. And just to look at that screen again, it is the 400, 300, and 200 and 100 blocks of Main Street. This area here in the dash pink and the blue would move over to 6th. We would just reroute them north a little bit, then catch up with Broadway. And like the mayor said, it was here for the council, and you were looking for more input from the business, and I think that was there. And the department heads have reviewed that and support the request, but it's here for your action if you chose to go forward.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Eide. No, I think it looks like it's timely. I think that the folks, Dustin and Jeff and Karen and everybody downtown that put some footwork into this, I appreciate that. I think I've been hearing too from different individuals that maybe it's time to take a look at this. There will be some costs. We have to initiate another stoplight and so forth off of Crescent and 6th, but we can get this done. Ryland, you got your hand up.
Yes, I would like to make a motion to forward this proposal to the Wisconsin DOT to change the route of Highway 29 going through downtown.
Okay, very good. Thank you for your motion. And there's a second. There's a number of hands. I think, Lucas, you had your hand up right away. Go ahead, Lucas.
I will second Ryland's motion to continue this research.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Oh, go ahead, Chad.
I realize that this is doesn't actually change it yet, but so the businesses that are currently on that road are all 100% for moving the route. I'm just curious if the other businesses that we're going to reroute the trucks to would all be 100% against the route.
Well, I think that's a good question for the future. I think I can't answer that. I don't know if anybody in this room can answer that this time. I'm looking around the room and I'm seeing that we're not 100% sure how that would work.
I think maybe we should have that discussion also with them.
That could be a good question. You know, it's going to come back to us. It may be too cost prohibitive, and maybe at that time we decide yes or no, or maybe there's some other features to this that we don't realize going into it. So I think we're safe in just contacting the DOT at this time, just to find out what the ins and outs of it are. There'll be some staff time, but Mr. Eide assures me that it'll be minimal staff time. So he's pretty confident that he can get this done, at least find out. And it'll take a while, where it's not going to happen overnight. So even if we get all the approvals, we're looking at a couple of years. And I see Mr. Prangy. Go ahead, please.
No, I was just going to say it's probably a couple of years out. We would have to program dollars for it, work with DOT. They're going to do an analysis of the road conditions even and give us pricing on what the value of our road is compared to the value of the road we're taking. All that has to be negotiated through a process. So there will be more, I'm sure, public hearings and that type of thing to get input from the other impacted property owners on Broadway.
Very good. Thank you. I think, Chad, that probably answers your question better than anything. So thank you. Ryland, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I guess part of the appeal of this route change to me is that just looking at the map, for the most part, the route change would go past parking lots and so on downtown. I know that there's a couple businesses, but it seems like rerouting a highway past parking lots is a lot better than having it going past, retail stores and restaurants. And that's part of the appeal and why I support this, I guess, is seems like a good route change to me.
Okay, thank you, Rylan. Lee, go ahead, please.
I think looking at Chad's question is that several of the businesses that are looking for this, the traffic will go past the back of their store rather than the front of the store.
That's true, Lee.
Silver Dollar, and the others. It's affect them from the back, not the front.
Right. Okay. Well, and I know that it's been mentioned too that if the route was changed, the downtown could be Main Street could be closed off for other celebrations and things like that in the future too. So there's more than just dining outside and having the manure truck go by or whatever. And maybe the other thing is the speed control. Maybe it'll be a shorter distance. Maybe the speeds will be kept down. One of the things that we have to remember, though, is on Crescent and 6, there will be probably another stoplight there. So we have to do a traffic analysis of Crescent and how that changes the crosswalks and some other things. So, but that's all packaged together. But we do have a motion on the floor, and it's seconded. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor of said motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. We're going to keep moving. We're on to, and thank you for everybody's help on this too. Appreciate that. Down to 6A, review of proposed 2021 clean sweep event at the community services facility and associated costs. And we have Megan here this evening. So Megan, if you want to open up your microphone.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So the city is looking at doing a hazardous waste collection this year for city residents. Dunn County Solid Waste and Recycling used to hold a hazardous waste collection for all county residents, and that hasn't happened now. It'll be 2 years this fall since that collection has happened. So working with the Solid Waste Committee, we talked this over earlier this spring in meetings with the Solid Waste Committee, and they wanted me to move forward to looking at costs and how this might work. So what you have in your packet was some costs from Veolia. They are the state hazardous waste contractor. They're also the contractor we would have to use if we applied for DAT-CAP grant funds next year. So what we're looking at is a one-day event, hiring the contractor to come in. We would do it down on the community services facility, not actually in the big building, looking at one of the accessory sheds where the contractor will process the waste. Cars will queue up outside of it. The cars will be unloaded outside on the asphalt. Looking at likely Wednesday afternoon, sometime during the late afternoon, early evening hours. Sometime this fall, probably September-ish time frame. We are recommending a $10 per car fee to help offset at least a little bit of the cost. And looking at not accepting latex paint or other water-based chemicals, because those can be dried up and thrown in your regular household trash, but we would accept batteries and bulbs at this collection. Any questions?
Well, that sounds great. I know the date is to be determined, and I think the how you set it up too. If you take a look at the facility and how you plan on bringing the cars in, I think it's going to be a great event. Hopefully, everything goes as planned. Is there a motion to accept? Chad, go ahead, please.
I had a question. I guess I'm just wondering why not do it on a Saturday?
Primarily because of contractor availability at this point during the year. To get a contractor for all their Saturdays are booked with other collections. So the possibility of potentially doing a Saturday collection in 2022, if we were to do this on an annual basis, we could move to a Saturday if we kind of reserved our date sometime this fall for next year's collection.
Okay. Makes sense.
That's a good question, Chad. Thank you. Lee, go ahead, please.
I understand that Menomonie Disposal is going to have a clean sweep. I believe it's in June 11th, a date like that.
So Menomonie Disposal is having a collection event. They're having it for appliances, electronics, bulbs and batteries, but not hazardous chemicals.
Okay. And we'll help advertise that too, I would think.
Yeah, we've had some flyers out at the solid waste site that our attendants have passed out to residents, and there's a lot of positive feedback about the Menomonie Disposal event coming up in June.
Well, that's great. I'm glad that they're participating. Randy Summerfield, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I was wondering how you came up with the fee for $10 because I waited 3 hours at the last one the county had before I could dispose of my stuff. And at 2 hours and 45 minutes, I would have paid $100, I think.
That was partially on the recommendation of the contractor. They are the state hazardous waste contractor and do many, many collections across the state. And that was kind of the general consensus of what most communities are doing, or in that 10 to 15, some are at 20, but he said most commonly it's about $10 a car.
Go ahead, Randy.
So will it be less than 3 hours waiting in line?
I sure hope so.
Because that was terrible.
Yeah, I think they were overrun with people coming in they didn't expect. Mr. Eddie, you had something to add to this?
No, I think to that point on the $10, we were thinking the residents would have a little participation fee in there. I think that would maybe help make that line a little shorter, Randy, too, on in that sense. So we are, and this is our first time going up. That's one of the reasons we're looking at a Wednesday also. We just want to just kind of walk a little bit before we run. This is the first time using this site for this collection process. And so we want to make sure we get it right so we can process people quicker. If we can get to a Saturday next year, we'll learn from this event and then we'll take those lessons learned and apply it to a Saturday event.
Good information. Lee, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion authorizing the staff to proceed with the clean sweep collection for the city.
Great. Motion's been made by Lise Webbs. Is there a second to that motion? Okay, Randy Summerfield, go ahead, please.
I'll second these motion.
Okay, thank you. Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor of said, oops, wait.
Well, just one comment, I think, to Randy's question. Didn't the vendor on site, when we met with them, talk 100 to 150 cars?
That's what they were thinking for a community of our size, looking at other communities that they service that are similar in population. That was their estimate for cars, was 100 to 150 or so.
So Randy, if it takes us that long to process that many cars, you need to find some new staff.
All right. Ryland, you got your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering for, let's say 150 cars coming through, did they have an estimate as to what the cost to the city would end up being?
That's a good question. It kind of is all over the board in the sense of it depends on how much hazardous waste everyone brings and how much of the really nasty stuff that costs more to get rid of. But what they've said, roughly an average for 150 cars, they see around $15,000 for a disposal cost.
Which, the money? The good news is we can apply for a grant for next year, yes. Which is a positive. And there's other good news too, that we just got money from our recycling program for this year. I think we got $56,000 came in to support the
51,000.
51,000. Okay. Mm-hmm. So $51,000 for the city recycling program that would have went to the county. So that's a plus. So good job. We have a motion on the floor. It's been voted and seconded. So no other discussion. All in favor of said motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. Thank you. Under 6B would be the request to submit a 2022 Clean Sweep grant application. So for next year, we would want to submit a grant so we possibly get some monies for next year. And Megan, do you want to touch on that real quick?
Sure. So this is a grant application. In your packet, you saw a draft copy of the application. It's a DACAP grant. We are asking for $16,000, which is the maximum amount that we can ask for. We will not get that much, but we'll ask for it anyways. It requires a 25% match that can be in-kind salaries or cash match. So it won't be as bad on that. For reference, the county got about $10,000 a year for their household portion. We're only able to apply for a household portion. We can't apply for an ag grant as a city. That's not allowable. And we wouldn't have any farms necessarily inside the city limits anyways. And so this application is due at the end of this month. So what we're looking for here is a go ahead to submit this application. And then there's a resolution that helps provide some local support and show DADCAP that we have support from the council to create our hazardous waste program, to submit the 2022 grant application, and then providing the financial support for the program through user fees and the balance from the solid waste and recycling utilities.
Good. Thank you, Megan. Any questions? Does anybody want to make a motion to support the grant application? I see everybody's hands going up. Ryland and Chad. Ryland, go ahead, please.
Yep, I'd like to make a motion to apply for the 2022 DAPCAT Clean Sweep Grant.
Okay, great. Thank you for the motion. Chad?
I'd like to second Mr. Erdman's motion.
Very good. Motion's been made and seconded. Any additional discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you. Okay, that brings us down to 6C, proposed contract with Barton Gale Mechanical Incorporated for City Hall control systems and air handling unit upgrades. We reached out to Barton Gale and they came back with some proposals, and I think the proposals are looking good. The building is actually in overall really good condition. We were looking at a lot more money that we might have had to spend on the building, but after looking at the roof passed inspection. The elevator is good. The controls, they're going to do some upgrades there, but overall, we did have them put in some new valves and some things like that. It saved us quite a bit of money in operations, gas and electricity. And I think with some other modifications, that can continue. We've also budgeted money for this, and I guess I can let Mr. Eide bring us up to a little bit more detail on this, but I think we're heading in the right direction. Mr. Eide?
Yep. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So there's a memo in the packet from the council from Barton Gale, which looks at the long-range equipment upgrades for our system. We've been here now for about 15, 16 months, doing well. We've done a lot of repairs to leaky valves, three-way valves, and other items within our current HVAC system. But as you can see on their memo, the one that we think is in vital need of repair is a control system. We're working off of one computer, and the controls are almost relatively non-existent. We've had two water breaks in the coil system on two of the air handling units this winter. And a lot of that is because we have no idea if the elements were freezing up. We have no temperature controls, no sensors. So we think that's at the forefront of the items we need to repair. But looking forward, the fan coil units, they're looking about 4 to 5 years out. We've been replacing them as we go. We've got 26 of them in the building. Our two boilers are the older type boilers, but they are working very well. They're about roughly 8 to 10 years life. The chiller's got about a 10-year life in it. And we got 7 air handling units that we've been replacing parts as we go along, but keeping them running has been something that looks like they'll last for a while too. So we're thinking if we can get into the controls, it'll help us on our efficiencies to some degree. We're talking the headworks for the controls would be about $40-some thousand. And then to do a tier 1 level, the tier 1 repairs would take care of the admin section in the main floor, our 58 conference room in the basement, which is the old Dunn County meeting room, our central ventilation throughout the stairwells on the north wing, the 3rd floor where City Hall is sitting currently, and that would be all of tier 1. Tier 2 is roughly $200,000. That is the rest of the building. Our thought is we'd get into tier 1, see how the controls work, and then come back with a proposal on tier 2, maybe 2 years down the road or 3 years down the road, if we think that's necessary. And as the mayor did speak to, we've done some core sampling on the roof. The membrane's good. The insulation is completely dry. The decking is in good shape. And they're saying we've got about an 8-year life left, or 6 to 8 year life left on the roof. The elevator's been inspected by our inspector, and it's been inspected by a state inspector twice since we've owned it, and it is working fine. No need to upgrade that at this point. So
and we haven't had to call the fire department to rescue anybody. So
no, it has not shut down on us either. So we've been doing pretty well. So we think this is the next thing to look at is the control system, and we're recommending that we move forward with the Barton Gale proposal.
And just to reiterate, monies were borrowed for this in the borrowing back in 2020 for the building. We did put some capital dollars in there, and they are still there with which would fund this component as we move forward.
Good, thank you. Any questions or discussion? Yes, Lee, go ahead, please.
Yeah, my second career, I messed around with this stuff with Focus on Energy, and I fully support this needs to be done. Also, I think the council realizes we're in partnership with Excel and this PI Partners in Energy, and I think this is going to help on some of our goals there. The thing I think we got to make sure that working in Barton, Gale, that they do apply for any incentives from Focus on Energy and make sure that it gets done, that the paperwork gets done, and we get our money back for it. But I'd like to make the motion that we proceed with this.
Okay, thank you, Lee. Good information too, and motion's been made. Is there a second to Lee's motion? Nate, go ahead.
Yep, I would second Lee's motion.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded. Is there any additional discussion? Rylan, go ahead, please.
There we go. I was just wondering, is this something that we would normally get multiple bids on, or?
Well, it's kind of a specialized industry, and they've been servicing the building at this point, and I think we're going to have to reach out quite a ways to get a different supplier for this. I can turn this over to Mr. Eide, but Mr. Eide?
It falls under a service type arrangement, like a professional service, putting in the controls and that stuff. So we've been working with Barton Gale for a year. They've got the knowledge of the building. They sort of got the insight. We thought this was going to cost a little more, probably for the total. It's at 300. We thought it was closer to $400,000. Maybe five in our original estimate. So we think the price point's well. There's a lot of gain if we're working with the entity that's maintaining the facility too. And so we're recommending Barton Gale. We do not have to bid it.
We currently have a contract with them. They come in, they're here almost every day, but we have a maintenance contract on the building already to provide those services. They've learned the building, Ryland, and I think it would be wise to stick with them.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
Okay, and Kelly, you got your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that having looked at some of the estimates that we were looking at when the county was still looking at upgrades, that's a fantastic price. That's much better than I would have expected to hear.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. Any other discussion? Okay, motion's been made and seconded. We need a roll call vote, please. Kelly?
Chase,
Yes.
Traxler,
Yes.
McCullough,
Yes.
Schwebs,
Yes.
Merrill,
Yes.
Schlu,
Yes.
Erdman,
Yes.
Summerfeld.
Yes.
Good, thank you. That brings us down to 6D, the review of the 2021 Police Department Replacement Squad Car bids. Chief Atkinson is here tonight if you have any questions for him. Chief, go ahead, please.
Sure. We put out for bids for replacing 4 squads. They're looking for 2021 Ford Police Utility Interceptors. We received 2 bids back, one from Northtown Ford and the other one from Hudson Ford. Hudson Ford was $33,000 per vehicle and Northtown was $33,900 per vehicle. It's the police department's recommendation that we go with the Northtown Ford bid. Although they are the higher bid of the 2, we've experienced great service with them and received priority service when our vehicles do need repairs. And that really is essential for us to be able to get our squads up and running as quickly as possible. And the other thing that I think is important too is that they are local. So it's bringing tax dollars back to our local businesses. So that is our recommendation from the Menomonie Police Department.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for the Chief, or if anybody wants to move this forward? Go ahead, Kelly.
More a comment than a question. I had a call to use our 911 services on Sunday. And I wanted to commend the Menomonie Police Department. I got response within 2 minutes of the call. It was in downtown. There was a distressed individual, 4 squad cars within 10 minutes, and EMPs on site. They handled the individual with great delicacy and gentleness. You did a fantastic job. Thank you so much.
Well, that's wonderful news. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
It's always good to hear good things. And I I do applaud our police and fire departments. I think they're outstanding, along with the rest of our public works facilities and so forth. I think everybody's really doing a great job out there. So Nate, go ahead, please.
Yep. Thanks for mentioning that, Kelly. That's a good story. I also did want to ask the chief, just why do we always see police departments going with Fords? Just a personal curiosity. I don't know.
Part of the issue is there's not too many manufacturers that are developing squad car packages. Ford tends to be with the primary one. Chevy will also do it as well. We've tended to stick with Ford because they'll maintain usually vehicle size and specifications for us from year to year with minimal changes. That allows us to be able to move our equipment from one squad to another one. So when we're taking a squad car out of service, we don't necessarily have to buy all brand new equipment for each car. And that's really the two main reasons why we stick with Ford.
Makes sense. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Good question.
Okay, Ryland, go ahead, please.
Yeah, what's the life expectancy of each of these squad cars?
It depends upon the assignment that they are put into service for. So if they are for regular routine patrol, you can get about 2 to 4 years of service out of them. If they are assigned to a plainclothes type position, then you can get anywhere upwards to 7 to 10 years of service out of them.
Good question. Thank you, Chief.
Just one comment to that right now, Chief, correct. It's a year longer than that because we just got our 2020s on the road here, a month ago?
Yes, our 2020 squad cars just came online here. Everything with the pandemic has caused delays, so we're a little bit behind in that area. But that's still a good question, Ryland. Thank you for asking.
Okay, Lucas, you got your hand up.
I'd like to make a motion to move forward with the purchasing of the 3 squad cars from Northtown Ford in Menomonie.
Great, thank you, Lucas. Is there a second to that motion? All right, I see everybody's. Kelly, go ahead, please.
I would like to second the motion.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any additional discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Traxler,
Yes.
McCullough,
Yes.
Schwebs,
Yes.
Merrill,
Yes.
Solberg, nope, Schlu,
Yes.
Erdman,
Yes.
Summerfeld.
Yes.
Just making sure you guys are awake.
Okay, good. Thank you. That moves us down to 6E, revised state municipal agreement to reconstruct State Highway 25 at 28th Avenue to 800 feet north. Discussion, possible motion approving. This is basically right away regarding water and sewer, and I've got Mr. Idy can fill in the blanks here. Mr. Idy?
I'll try to be brief, Mr. Mayor. So in this case, we're going to reduce the cost of the agreement. We're taking $15,000 off of it. We thought we may have to extend a water main with the DOT project, but we don't have to. So they're asking for a revised agreement. The project goes from South Menomonie, a little bit in the city, kind of around 20, just south of 24th Avenue, and going all the way to Downsville, kind of by the Baptist Church, connects in, and they're going to resurface all the way to Downsville. So our portion of the $15,000 for the water main extension is not needed. So we're taking that out of the agreement, but we need formal council approval if we want to move forward with that removal.
I expect all hands to go up on this one. So anybody like to make a motion to approve? Now's the time to do so. All right, Kelly, go ahead, please.
I would like to make a motion to approve. That sounds lovely.
All right, great. Is there a second to Kelly's motion? Okay, Lee, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'll second the motion.
Okay, a motion been made and seconded. Any additional discussion? All in favor of said motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Great, thank you. That brings us down to 6F, appointments to various boards and commissions, including the Historic Preservation, Airport, and Tourism Commission. I did reach out to several individuals, and we've got, as far as Historic Preservation, Sylvia Gegenbach. She runs a antique store downtown, and she's been involved in those discussions. And then also Tom Sampson, who is Jack Sampson's grandson. He owns the M Shed. It used to be Southside Garage down there, and he is very interested also in that position. So those are my recommendations. I do appreciate Melissa's recommendation of Lucas. I think Lucas will also be a great advocate for downtown. I know that we do have one other council member serving in that capacity. At this point, I think Ryland's the one in that chair. And so we kind of like to spread this out though. But I think, Lucas, I think you would be a great advocate for that position in historic preservation also. And I appreciate Melissa's comments she brought forward. I think that's great. As far as airport, we talked to Randy Summerfield last week, and he gracefully said yes. I think he'd be a great advocate for the airport, and his neighbors live out that way and so forth. So we can put him right in the thick of things. I mean, it's a good thing. And then as far as tourism goes, I reached out to Jay Olette. He is the manager up at the Stout Ale House in the mall, and he would be a perfect fit for tourism. We really need somebody that has some input that in that capacity. So he took a little talking, but Jay Olette finally committed this afternoon or the other day. And I talked to him again today, and he was excited about it. So those are my recommendations. And so if I can bring those to the council for your approval, if anybody would like to approve those recommendations, now would be the time to make a motion. Council? Lise Webbs, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept all the appointments to the 3 different boards.
Okay, thank you, Lise Webbs, for that motion. Is there a second to that motion? Nate, go ahead, please.
Yep, I would like to second these motion.
Okay, motion been made and seconded. Any additional discussion? Oh, go ahead, Ryland. Go ahead, please.
I guess I just wanted to comment that I was impressed that we had more applicants than positions to fill for the Historic Preservation Commission, and I hope to see more of the same in the future for other boards and committees. So it'd be nice if we had a little bit of a heads up when there are open seats, so that we can try to put a bug in the ear of people who might be a good fit.
Great, a good suggestion. I know we're looking for somebody for parking utility at this time, and so if you know of anybody for that position, and the Board of Zoning also. So if there's anybody they want to recommend for those positions, we appreciate that. Okay, with that being said, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of said motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Aye.
Are you, is that an aye in approval or aye in opposal?
Or abstention, whichever one. It's an aye of no.
Aye
Or
no.
abstention.
It's a vote for no.
For no.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. All right, and then moving down to budget transfers. We have a couple of budget transfers this evening. And so if anybody would like to make a motion to approve the budget transfers, we could do that at this time.
So we had a network storage maintenance contract come up on the IT department that they hadn't planned on this year. So internally, they're moving some dollars around to cover that, given council approval.
Okay, that's just a little explanation. So the floor is open for council. Go ahead, Ryland, go ahead, please.
I make a motion to approve the budget transfers.
Okay, motion was made. Is there a second to that motion? Go ahead, Nate.
I would second Ryland's motion.
Okay, motion been made and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please.
McCullough,
Yes.
Schwebs,
Yes.
Merrill,
Yes.
Schlue,
Yes.
Erdman,
Yes.
Summerfeld,
Yes.
Chase,
Yes.
Traxler.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Brings us down to the mayor's report. Just a couple of things. One is, I know the Mabel is having a big party this Saturday, and I think everybody would be invited. And maybe Lucas, you could bring us up to speed on that, if you would.
Yes, absolutely. So starting at 2:00 in the parking lot, we're having Artisan Vendors from our Fine Arts and Crafts Fair. They'll be there from 2 to 8. And then starting at 4 p.m., we'll have 4 bands, all local bands throughout the evening until 10 p.m. We'll have Weapons of Brass Destruction, Ellie Mae Kay, Joanne Parker, and then M. Men's in the show featuring 14 different local musicians. So the music will start at 4 and end at 10. We'll also have 3 food trucks from around the area. And Zymergy will also bring their beer truck as well. So from 2 to 10 on Saturday, fingers crossed that the weather cooperates.
Wow, that's exciting. Thank you, Lucas. And that's a good piece of information. Thank you for your report. A couple other things. The Stout Steam tunnel is going to be under construction pretty much all summer. And I know part of the road's going to be closed down, and Lowell's got his microphone on. Go ahead, Lowell. Randy?
Well, yeah, that's exactly right. It will be the South Broadway, south of Main Street. We thought the traffic shift would take place today, but there's a delay in material for the contractor. So now he's looking at moving that traffic shift to a starting date just after Memorial Day. So I think it'd be the Tuesday after Memorial Day at this point.
Okay, great. It's nice to see that that things are opening up. Masks. If you get vaccinated, I was able to sing with my quartet the other night, and my other quartet said, "Hey, if everybody's vaccinated, let's start getting together." So things are starting to come around. Hats off to everybody that got vaccinated and pulling the rope in the same direction. I know we lost some lives around the area, and my heart goes out to those families. But be safe out there. If you're in a situation where you feel you need to wear your mask, wear your mask. If you need to stay safe distance from others, please stay your safe distance. The CDC is only guidelines. It's all up to us to maintain visual and to stay safe out there. Lowell, go ahead, please.
Just real quick in that theme. So there was the rally in the alley that was included in your pack too. They're going to do that on the 27th. So that will be 5 nights after the Mabel's event. And then I believe council members did probably all receive a letter from Dunn County Economic Development Corporation talking about funding and next year. And just historical perspective, in the past years, we've typically provided $26,000 round number to that organization. But because the county didn't fund it to any degree this year, the city did not as well. I think they're running kind of on life support at this point on funding through this year. As they had some reserve dollars built up. But given the letter that we received, I want council to be aware this will be considered during the budget process. By then we'll know probably which way the county's headed and can make a decision then whether or not to fund Dunn County EDC. We did put some money into another organization, which is the Greater Menomonie Development Corporation. And again, they're working strictly with more local businesses than the Dunn County or EDC. So I could answer questions if there are any, but just wanted council to be aware what the little bit about the background was in that correspondence.
Okay, and if my estimate is right, I think if the county gets involved more heavily in the EDC, we will also, correct?
I would assume so, yes.
Very good. Thank you, Lowell. Anything else from council and communications? Last call. Okay, let's keep moving. Claims, if we want to pay the bills, there's a revised claims list out there. I'll give it to the council.
The change was the 2 on topper for advertising at the street department for a replacement supervisor for Bruce Heath. Let's say that fast. We went over budget on those items, looking for somebody, which we're still working on.
So yeah, if you know of anybody that'd like to be a street superintendent or a public works, community service, that's what it is, community service.
We're looking for a new public works director.
Community service building. Send them our way. So at this time we are working on claims. So if anybody would like to make a motion to pay the amended claims license or claims list, now's the time to do so.
Just one more thing too. Going back, we should talk about probably next meeting. It's going to be queued up to talk about the meetings, and if we're going to open the building here to the public, then the 90 days is up, the 3 months is up. Also, that probably opens the door discussing what we're going to do for meetings. Is it going to be hybrid? We're going to open up to in-person for council members as well. So we should get that thought out there anyway, so council can start thinking about it. And again, things are changing, as the mayor said, so that's going to be a topic on the next agenda.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that information also, Mr. Prangy. Okay, so we're back to claims. Chad, go ahead, please.
I'd like to make a motion to pay the revised claims list.
Okay, thank you. The motion's been made. Is there a second to that motion?
Lucas will second that.
Okay, thank you, Lucas. Is there any discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Schwebs,
Yes.
Merrill,
Yes.
Schlue,
Yes.
Erdman,
Yes.
Sommerfeld,
Yes.
Chase,
Yes.
Traxler,
yes,
McCullough.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Brings us down to licenses, just our normal license list this evening. If anybody would like to make a motion to pass our licenses, Nate, go ahead, please.
I would like to make a motion approving the normal license list.
Thank you. Is there a second to Nate's motion? Go ahead, Chad.
I'll second Nate's motion.
Great. There you go. All right. Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor of said motion signify by saying aye.
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 aye,
Opposed? Very good. Thank you. There is no closed session tonight. And so the motion at hand would be a motion to adjourn. Nate, you got your hand up.
I do. I was actually wondering if I could make a motion to adjourn.
You can at this time. Is there a second to Nate's motion? No?
I'll second that.
Okay, Jan Traxler with a second. All in favor of said motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you, everybody. Be safe out there and get a hold of us if you have any questions or information on what we can do to make everybody's life in Menomonie even better. So thank you. A good meeting tonight. Appreciate it very much. Everybody have a safe evening.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, everybody.
Y'all next time.
Have a good one.